Dalilah Reyes, an agent working for the malicious organization called appropriately H.A.D.E.S, gets orders to visit a heavily guarded and secretive base camp in Area 51, Nevada, following a tragic accident that took place near the place. In her convoluted journey, unsure to whether trust her colleagues and superiors or the opposing organization known as Section 8, she faces monstrous corpses walking due to a strange electromagnetic pulse originating from deep within the base camp, in the depths of the Earth's crust, which also caused her and many others to suffer from hallucinations. That's when she finds the source of it all being a prehistoric sea creature kept in captivity, used by the military to extract organic material which have properties of allowing teleportation. Daymare 1994 is a prequel to the first installment of the game, Daymare 1998, where an accident with a chemical weapon caused the severe mutation of humans into bloodthirsty hostile beings, which 3 survivors had to face and overcome. The story of the prequel takes place through the perspective of Dalilah Reyes, a former Navy currently working with H.A.D.E.S unit, or in other words, Hexacore Advanced Division for Extraction and Search. Dalilah, being on her desk, hears about an incident known as Rachel Incident close to Area 51, which the authorities don't know the cause of, being a school bus which flipped, with many believing it has paranormal connections. Dalilah soon gets approached by Major H.A.D.E.S, being a H.A.D.E.S employee who commands Dalilah to follow him under Foster's orders, seemingly a superior to them. Dressing up in her H.A.D.E.S uniform, Dalilah gets ready to accompany H.A.D.E.S on their way to what seems to be a code red. With limited confidential information, Dalilah is ordered to meet Dr. Noah Anderson and retrieve a briefcase with sensitive information in Area 51, which all relate to the recent incident which took place, publicly being televised. This mission is so important that Commander Foster is even coming along, as his presence has been requested, with the briefcase possibly having information about a highly sensitive and confidential project named Hoax, with Dr. Anderson being part of it. Dalilah and H.A.D.E.S have a chit-chat on the way, having a very tough man I show no feelings relationship between each other, who push each other's buttons.
Why the long face? Worried this encounter might be a little too close?
Just minding my own goddamn business? I'm not like you, Reyes. I have a life outside H.A.D.E.S.
Sure. Hanging out at the Blackjack Pub being an asshole.
Hey, at least it's better than sitting alone in your apartment with all of your high-tech crap.
Human company is overrated.
As they fly to the no-fly zone, they get instant warnings by Section 8, a special unit having jurisdiction in the area and having direct orders from the president that H.A.D.E.S has been denied and cancelled their permission to land in the site and would face extreme measures, depicting the sensitive nature of this mission.
Permits to enter and cross the no-fly zone are cancelled with immediate effect.
Sounds like the president won't be welcoming us with open arms.
Despite having been cancelled the permission mid-flight, the commanding officer instructs Reyes and H.A.D.E.S to continue with their assigned mission but be secretive and infiltrate the facilities under the special operation labeled as Sandcastle. The reaction of Foster, seemingly being surprised at the warnings, appears as if he was fully aware of their lack of permission to fly into Area 51, Nevada, but nonetheless, he lied to his subordinates to conduct this mission as if there's something that is hiding. The aircraft lands 5 kilometers away from the original landing spot, the base, with the team deciding to stay incognito and infiltrate the location, getting to the highly sensitive briefcase before another external team does. Getting close, they notice the base camp is abandoned, with fenced walls being broken as if the place has been rummaged already by uninvited visitors. Reaching a pile of electronics and destroyed laptops, Reyes, who is a tech nerd and a scientist, explains whoever broke in used these devices to gain access, being baffled to why they would destroy the gear. However, Exploring the camp with valuables and equipment left unattended as if everyone left in a rush, leaving everything behind, Reyes intercepts a distress radio message asking for help, showing telltale signs of something catastrophic having happened here. Finding a sensitive document being the operation orders, Section 8 was directly ordered by the White House Executive Office to mobilize the perimeters of Groom Lake, USAF, and prevent anyone from entering without permission, evacuating the personnel after observation and quarantine, and eventually letting the Health Control Organization to be escorted in order to document the research and experimentation that took place to compile them into files to be sent to the White House. This depicts that the briefcase H.A.D.E.S is after possibly contains information about the research and experimentation, which are seemingly the cause of the camp being in the state that it is, as if something horribly went wrong. Managing to find a key and gaining access inside the facilities, she opens one of the doors to the internal facility for Rodek and Foster, but she gets locked in by an alarm system. Having limited time, Foster and Rodek go in, planning to rendezvous Reyes inside, not being able to compromise any more time. Finding an alternate route, Reyes enters a hidden place known as the Advanced Research Facility. As Reyes continues onward, Rodek contacts her that they were attacked by something with no sign of Section 8 anywhere to be seen. Soon, all parties find burnt corpses of Section 8, paving the path of the facilities, clearly showing something terribly went wrong and something that could soon be their problem if they don't hurry up and find the documents and leave ASAP. As soon as Reyes deactivates the alarm system, a strange ball of electrical energy brings the corpses to life, who become extremely hostile, mindless beings whom she shuts down to defend herself. That's when she receives a distress call on her DID, the electronic that she created and gave one to Rodek, who is unreachable on his radio, which she uses to track him and go to his rescue. As she finds a badly injured Rodek, he explains how Commander Foster is rogue, who upon seeing Anderson snatched the briefcase out of his grip, shooting at him in the process and killing a couple of Section 8 soldiers who only wanted to negotiate. This explains everything to why they had the warnings mid-flight and that they never had any clearance. Commander Foster is seemingly rogue and wanted to steal the sensitive information for a certain purpose, hence why he quickly shot Anderson to steal the documents and killing the Section 8 soldiers in the process, not caring about what happens to Rodek. Rodek explains a powerful soldier known by the name Gora managed to injure Rodek and chase after Foster to obtain the briefcase, seemingly like a super soldier. Despite Foster's secrecy and unreliability and clear deceptive tactics, Rodek and Reyes still decide to go to his aid and obtain the briefcase and extract it, defending him against this super soldier known as Gora. Rodek and Reyes, in their tough broski no-show emotion but muscle relationship, try to keep each other safe from what lurks in the facilities, ordering each other to stay put, but Reyes manages to outmaneuver Rodek and trap him in a room, going on a mission to find Foster. It seems there's more to Reyes and Rodek's story, and maybe they had a past, but more on that later. On her way, she finds a killed H.A.D.E.S agent, being surprised to how it's possible, clearly depicting there's a lot more to the story than they were led to believe, with the commander knowing much more. On this agent, Reyes finds a powerful weapon, liquid nitrogen, with someone on the radio communicating with Reyes, giving her an option to abandon the mission to survive and change sides, being a very mysterious person.
There's still hope for you, girl. The operation is still in progress.
Who the f are you? Gora?
Don't you really think that weapon will make any difference? It didn't save him, and it won't save you either.
The weapon known as the Frost Grip allows Reyes to freeze the enemies and break them into pieces, being a very powerful weapon. Deeper in the facilities, Reyes finds unexplainable technology such as raining doors and a red electric pulse energy, which has easily managed to cut the wing of an aircraft clean off. More and more secrets seem to be uncovered, and the extent of sinister research and experimentation that was conducted here, going so far as using this electromagnetic energy on humans possibly, and the reason that they had come back to life now. Soon Reyes finds an injured HCO scientist, Dr. Anderson, who explains how a H.A.D.E.S agent shot him, seemingly referring to Foster or Rudek. Holding a briefcase, he explains how they studied the transfer of energy and didn't mean for any of this to happen. He further explains how the corpses are coming to life. They were manipulating the structure of electromagnetic fields, just a theory which led to a discovery. He explains how they weren't doing anything wrong and wanted to reveal their research to the public, but H.A.D.E.S seems to have other plans, as if trying to silence them, clearly being the bad guys. Just as he's about to explain what the briefcase contains, a strong pulse of energy disrupts their conversation, with the scientist seeing someone threatening, being invisible to Reyes, leading to the scientist shooting in the air, which in return, Reyes kills the scientist, not to get shot herself. Reyes picks up the case and plans to leave, hoping Foster can make it out on his own, as she has secured the briefcase. Trying to find a way out, Reyes finds remnants of a plane crashing, as if revealing this entire situation occurred through an accident, with something the plane containing unleashing such technology making the corpses come to life. Getting into a room with some sort of machinery, it opens and releases a gas, making Reyes cough profusely, with a hooded and masked man staying safely behind the glass in a protected observation room, going on a weird monologue on how he became what he is now, encouraging Reyes to breathe the gas as it would be easier. Strangely, as she breathes the gas, she gets used to it, with it seemingly not having any direct impact just yet. Managing to go out and locate a hard-to-get-to helipad, she contacts their pilot, Vulcan, telling him about the helipad. On her way, she finds Foster seemingly being injured. He explains how he knows Gora from 1983 as a hot-headed kid who were friends. He further explains it's better to destroy the briefcase than risk losing it to Gora, as they don't know who he would give or sell it to. Foster gives Reyes another mission, something he was keeping from Rudek and her before. There's a large advanced experimentation center in the depth of the base, known as the Castle. He asks Reyes to destroy the servers, as if the data leaves to the public, it would be catastrophic. At this point, we don't really know whose side to take and who to trust, especially what we learned from Foster. However, in his own defense, he explains he was not the one who started shooting when meeting Section 8 soldiers and the scientist, but in fact, it was Rudek who started shooting and leaving Foster, explaining that he is probably a double agent or a rogue operator. Foster takes the briefcase from Reyes and plans to find Rudek and punish him, also to watch out. As Reyes asks about the matter transfer experiments which the scientist was talking about, Foster tries to explain, but just then he gets shot in the head by someone out of sight, possibly being Gora or the masked person who exposed her to the gas. Confused and unsure who to trust, Reyes plans to go down and shut the servers before Gora and Section 8 get to it, obeying Foster's last orders. Going down to the secret experimentation facilities, Reyes puts a gas mask on to prevent getting poisoned from the leaking gas when she gets attacked by multiple corpses, with someone with a gas mask saving her. He refuses to give out so much information so early, referring to himself as Aptom. Just as Reyes asks questions, a pulse with an ominous sound disrupts Aptom, similar to the one the scientist experienced, which instantly changes Aptom into becoming hostile and knocking Reyes out. Waking up, Reyes sees her estranged sister Helen, who abandoned her a long time ago, thinking she was long dead, when all of a sudden she disappears, seemingly being a hallucination, maybe from the gas that she inhaled. Through the speaker, she hears the sound of two people, with the female one sounding as if being mentally demented, saying that they've been trapped here for so long, being doctors. The speaker doesn't seem to want to let Reyes out and seems to hate H.A.D.E.S, introducing herself as one of the researchers playing a game with Reyes. She promises to let Reyes out as long as she runs some errands for her. While doing so, the doctor explains how H.A.D.E.S are the baddies who interfered with their experimentation and wanted to force them run human experiments. When they refused, they built a jail in the facilities and trapped the resisting scientists there, using a lot of force and violence. She explains it was H.A.D.E.S who forced them to do the matter transfer experiment, and suddenly, a seismic shock caused the corpses come to life. The doctor explains how their team started research in 1950s in search of new organic life forms. That's when they discover RAM-77, a mysterious new alloy. This doctor and her colleagues being part of a team called U.S. Progress. They initiated a project called Hoax, with military using the technology to build aircrafts to go undetected by enemy forces. She explains her hate towards H.A.D.E.S, who forcefully stole their data and research, hence why they went underground, and now H.A.D.E.S is back again to steal more data. That's when the doctor on the speaker loses her cool and traps Reyes to be killed by the walking corpses. In return, Reyes destroys the electric pillars which open the secure doors to the doctor, killing her and her colleagues. Reyes truly doesn't like scientists and doctors. First, she injured one carrying the briefcase, and then the woman and her colleagues. Someone who had suffered a lot, losing everything due to H.A.D.E.S and clearly not being in the right state of mind anymore. Finally managing to go down to the castle laboratory, Reyes finally meets the real, reputable Gora, or at least that's what she thinks. Gora explains that she has got everything wrong, and H.A.D.E.S are the baddies, but again, a hard-headed Reyes who clearly has experienced so much uncertainty and contradictions from her own team doesn't want to budge and change her mind, still being on guard. Gora explains to Reyes in order to gain access to the main laboratory, she needs to find a code, most likely found in the medical quarters of the castle. Managing to disable the system to open the path, Reyes gets a distress call from Gora that he found survivors in the residential sector and needs her help urgently. After managing to go to the residential sector to a burned down school, no matter how many times she tries, she fails to connect to Gora through radio, worried that something tragic could have happened to him and the survivors. After some time, Reyes finds Gora suffering the same way the doctor and H.A.D.E.S did, seeing things that aren't there, who starts crying and apologizing that he was ordered to do something, saying that he could not save the survivors. It seems as if he was tormented by a previous experience where he failed to save children, still haunted by that thought. Just as they try to go further onto the main part, H.A.D.E.S comes out of nowhere, taking Gora as a hostage and threatening Reyes to stay out and not go in. Unsure if H.A.D.E.S is actually rogue, according to what Foster said as well, or if he's just following orders. She gets back on her journey to find a way and get some sort of closure with H.A.D.E.S and free Gora. As it turns out, Helen, Dalilah's sister, actually disappeared as she worked on the secret project, living in the castle. They had a falling out and Dalilah never managed to get in contact with her again. Finding Helen's photos and documents, seeing how she still kept photos of herself and Dalilah, brings a tear to Dalilah's eyes, feeling guilty for not trying harder to rekindle their relationship. Finding Helen's diary, her guilt becomes even worse as she writes how she still thinks about Dalilah and how much she misses her. Managing to go deep into the highly confidential labs, she comes across piles of body bags and test pods, which were used to experiment on humans. Now driven by finding Helen, the most important cause, alongside finding H.A.D.E.S and Gora, she continues on. Deep in the main lab, she also finds quarters of H.A.D.E.S, confirming that H.A.D.E.S had much more involvement in the castle than they were willing to confess. They were the ones running the human experiments and forcing scientists to do their dirty work for them. Finding a secret confidential document, the atrocities of H.A.D.E.S are unveiled on how they couldn't use force and intimidation and violence to convince majority of U.S. Progress team anymore to help them with their human experimentation, as they still had humanity, which led to them use Daymare toxins on them, a neurotoxin that would manipulate their minds and subjugate them into obeying the commanders. That explains the gas Reyes inhaled was the same gas, and it's the same gas that affects the victims hallucinate and change personality so quickly, similar to the scientist, the doctor, H.A.D.E.S, and even Gora. H.A.D.E.S put this gas in the ventilation system, infecting all the U.S. Progress members to inhale this gas to be controlled by them. This toxin gives the victims constant nightmares, with some pills known as CRM-114 only giving temporary relief, which H.A.D.E.S used to control them further. This explains why the doctor was so unstable and hated H.A.D.E.S, as they deserved all the hate that was coming their way and for what they did to the doctor and her team. Finding a video recording, she gets the direct proof of how Foster has been lying to them since the beginning, who knew about the experiments and how they used the Daymare toxins to command the US progress. Also, H.A.D.E.S had their own little experiment with the people they infected with the toxin, giving some of them the pill to treat and some not at all, seeing the full-blown effects of the toxin. Alongside Foster, she also sees Helen being involved in the experiments, baffled to how her kind and compassionate sister would become such a monster. Deep in a part of the lab they called the womb, Dalilah finds an audio log from Helen being alongside someone called Brian, trying to find a way to undo all the bad things. Helen even mentions how Brian was infected with the blood and how she was infected with the toxin, and without the pill she would lose her mind, meaning that she only complied with H.A.D.E.S because they forced her and manipulated her mind.
Well, it's March 14th, 1993. I'm so excited. This is such an important moment.
Shouldn't you be a little more formal?
Come on, Brian, stop it. I'm recording. Phase 2 of our plan begins today. This place will be called the Womb to symbolize its purpose, rebirth.
It's incredible. I can feel it down there. It's so close.
But remember why we're doing this. They injected you with that blood. They used you as a guinea pig, just like they're using him. I was so scared of losing you. I'd have gone crazy in that prison without the antitoxin.
I'd never abandon you.
Dalilah soon comes across Brian wearing a H.A.D.E.S uniform, who explains he was Helen's boyfriend, being very fidgety due to the gas and the blood infecting him, who explains Helen is dead and he is the cause. All of a sudden, a horrible sound being heard. Brian loses control and attacks Dalilah just to resist the effects of the toxin and shooting himself to stop hurting Dalilah.
I wasn't myself. I lost control. It was the toxin, that monster. It wasn't me. Saved her! Look at her now, the closest creature to God on the face of the earth. The plan has worked. The ogre is almost charged. The living and the dead have contributed with their light. And she will welcome him in the rebirth. The time has come to finally the God chained by man will be set free. It's time. Please forgive me.
All of a sudden, Helen appears out of nowhere, someone who has been hunting Dalilah, who explains her remnants only remain in Dalilah, being a figment of her imagination due to the toxin that she inhaled, administered by Atom. She explains that Brian killed her unwillingly as she tried to carry out her plan to save humanity. It all comes to this place where a monstrous being is kept in a large aquarium nicknamed the Ogre, who emits certain sound waves, making people hallucinate. Due to Ogre, Dalilah is now seeing Helen, planning to complete what Helen started and couldn't finish. This prehistoric species had these abilities which H.A.D.E.S used to produce the toxin and extract its blood. Helen instructs Dalilah to destroy this being as its existence could destroy humanity.
We tried to exploit him for his blood, finally make this epical leap. But we were pawns in his inextinguishable will to survive.
He was manipulating you. He wanted to free this monster.
On the contrary, I wanted to destroy him. I'd realized the truth. I lied to Brian to achieve my aim. He went out of his way to protect me from this madness. But he didn't think about himself. And the more time passed, the more the ogre crept into him. In the end, only I could clearly see that we were all wrong. He must be destroyed. I summoned you, Reyes. You must complete what I have started.
You just abandoned me to take part in this research. Now you're asking me to destroy it. And lose you again.
I didn't understand until it was too late. We never really separated. Our bond has survived over time, years of silence. It has overcome even death, and has now overcome the will of this millennial creature.
I don't want to lose you again.
We're not separating. We just got back together.
As she tries to shut off the system leading to its death, Gora comes out of nowhere, stopping Dalilah. Gora is delirious under the toxin effect, saying that he still has a mission and has to extract the data, leaving Reyes with no choice but to shoot him down. As she tries to shut off the system, she hallucinates that Helen is safe somewhere on a bed, to which she rushes to. Going there, she witnesses how it was nothing but a trick and the effects of the toxin on her mind, clearly showing how the ogre, the prehistoric monster, knows about her intentions, trying to desperately stop her. It turns out Aptem all along was Brian, who sadly developed this sociopathic alternate personality due to the toxin. Through a diary, it reveals the electromagnetic pulse also comes from this creature, which resulted in the corpses coming to life and even teleporting. That's when she gets a radio message from Rodek asking her to get to him so they can live together in one piece. Preferably. Just as they try to leave, Dalilah sees a monstrosity hybrid of her sister Helen, seemingly being part of an experiment that they ran, trying to create human hybrids to allow them to teleport. Just as it tries to attack Dalilah, Rodek comes to the rescue and repelling Dalilah up to the helicopter, but all of a sudden another pulse from the creature makes Dalilah lose her grip and fall. Regardless, Rodek decides to stay and says how he doesn't want to lose Dalilah in his tough man voice, risking his own life for her. As Dalilah gets up to the surface, being hard to see due to thick fog and storm, she sees Helen, with her story seemingly coming to an abrupt end here, with the helicopter being here to leave in the background. An audio log then goes on to talk about Operation Sandcastle and its outcome. Rodek is heard in the recording, extremely angry that Vulcan, the pilot, left Dalilah behind, forcing him to leave as well, with the H.A.D.E.S believing that she and Commander Foster died in the process of Operation Sandcastle. Due to Foster's betrayal and messed up experimentation, the blame is put on Rodek, whom the President orders immediate execution of. However, H.A.D.E.S has a better plan for him to fake his execution while giving him a new identity under the name LIEV, as they describe him to be one of their most valued assets. Of course, LIEV is the main character of Daymare 1998, the first installment of the game, which is also a sequel to this game. The story doesn't end for Dalilah, however, as we see her listening to a voice recorder Ivan Rodek gave her, being from none other than Helen, whom Rodek knew about, and ever since the beginning, he has been protecting Dalilah and watching her back, truly being a good guy. Helen also apologizes for leaving and saying how her feelings for her sister never changed. Dalilah then prepares a blood vial that she collected off the creature, seeing a strange portal, with the story ending there while two dolls are seen by the portal, depicting the sisterhood of Helen and Dalilah, all while she hears sinister whispers seemingly coming from the creature. This clearly depicts that she is going to go through the portal, injecting herself with the monster's DNA, in hopes of maybe going back in time to reunite with her deceased sister, or for the least, to travel to a place, a world, or complete delusion of being back with her sister. Even though Dalilah's story seems to be concluded here, with Rodek being on his way to become the main character in Daymare 1998 game, it's very possible we might learn more about Dalilah in a DLC and her journey to reunite with Helen, as we don't fully know the extent of the ogre's capabilities.